5 months, the Biden administration is already a complete and total catastrophe. I told you, crime is surging, murders are soaring, police departments are being gutted, illegal aliens are overrunning their borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Our poor borders, they were so perfect, they were so good. Drug cartels and human traffickers are back in business like they've never been before. They're doing numbers that they've never even thought possible. And just a few short months ago, drugs were way down, human trafficking was way down, it was all way down. All they had to do is go away for a little while. It was beautiful. But the schools, when you take a look at schools, and you look at all of the things that happen, left-wing indoctrination camps, critical race theory is being forced on our military, gas prices are spiking, inflation is skyrocketing, and China, Russia, and Iran are humiliating our country. Joe Biden is destroying our nation right before our very own eyes. The number one priority for everyone who wants to save America is to pour every single ounce of energy you have into winning a gigantic victory in the midterms and in 2024.
What it is, bruh? What's up? And we riding on the haters, turned up. We some Murphy Burl niggas. We all about our skrilla. We smashing hoes, smoking hoes, flipping on the bricks, and we having the fit. Ain't that a bitch? We so fly. Why you haters gotta hate? We trapping good. We stacking money.
35,000 employees. Once the COVID-19 vaccines are fully approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the clock starts ticking down to mandatory vaccination. Those who refuse to do so could be terminated.
At this point, we're focused on compliance and on helping our employees see their way through to getting themselves vaccinated.
Right now, the vaccines only have emergency approval from the FDA. Full approval likely months away, and even then, employees will have another 10 weeks to comply with the mandatory vaccination policy. There will be medical and religious exemptions.
What's become clear in science is that the vaccine is the best protection for our employees and for the public that we serve.
Now, starting Monday, employees will have 30 days to prove their vaccination status with the city in keeping with Cal OSHA regulations.
So in order to allow our employees who have been vaccinated, which we believe to be the majority of them, to work unmasked, we have to know their status.
The new rules impact workers at City Hall and Beauty, as well as police and firefighters. The San Francisco Police Officers Association tonight is offering its support, saying throughout the pandemic, San Francisco police officers put their lives and their health on the line to protect our citizens. We understand the importance of keeping our officers and the public safe from COVID-19 on an ongoing basis. Not that long ago, San Francisco let some employees go for refusing to wear masks. ICE says these new rules will be enforced as well. Although
our emphasis is on education, on working with our employees, on listening to them, and on doing everything we can to help them overcome any hurdles that they might have.
In San Francisco, Terry McSweeney, NBC Bay Area.
The sad toll of the corona lockdowns in this country. According to Joe Biden, though, we could get another round of lockdowns. These for a crisis that's every bit as bad as the coronavirus, maybe worse. That crisis, of course, says Joe Biden, is climate change.
Today, I'm pleased to announce a team that will lead my administration's ambitious plan to address the existential threat of our time, climate change. Folks, we're in a crisis. Just like we need to be a unified nation in response to COVID-19, we need a unified national response to climate change. And from this crisis, from these crises, I should say, we need to seize the opportunity to build back and build back better than we were before.
A unified national response. It's involuntary, that's the one thing we know. What does it mean? Well, we're learning that a World Health Organization staff has written reports have been climate lockdown called for
That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, it's a moment of truth for all you moderates living in the suburbs. Now, many of you, I know, not all, but many of you voted against Donald Trump by voting for Biden. And at the time, I think you felt good about it, virtuous even, especially you suburban women. You're the biggest voting cohort, making up, 24% of the voters in 2020? And you went 59% for Biden and only 40% for Trump. Well, you felt good about yourselves at the time, but what about now? Well, the events of the last year, and especially the past 6 months, demonstrate that you've got a lot more trouble than you bargained for. The fact is, there are no more moderates left in the Democrat Party to rein in the radicals. And as I warned, now, I think it was exactly almost a year ago, Biden's too weak to stand up to the hard left. My message to suburban women and older voters: Biden is not going to deliver the calm that you think he might. The Democrats have become the party of chaos, lawlessness, and disorder. And when they can't get their way through voting, they'll encourage rioting and looting. And if you resist or don't publicly profess your white guilt, they'll destroy you. They hate our history, our traditions, and our way of life. Well, not to mention that Biden's lackeys want to wipe the suburbs off the map. Now, like everything else, they see the suburbs as themselves inherently racist, kind of a sign of decadent white privilege built on the backs of minority suffering. Now, as we've warned you, the administration will cajole localities into eliminating so-called exclusionary zoning laws that make the suburbs possible. Goodbye picket fence houses and low high-rises and multi-use living, and of course the rampant crime that can come along with it. Now, speaking of which, Biden's answer to the terrifying spiral of crime that's sweeping across the country should itself be a wake-up call to all you suburbanites who voted for him. His stupid gun control speech today just confirms what we noted last night, that Democrats defiantly refuse to do what we all know works to reduce crime. And they're doing that in favor of empty symbolic gestures that satisfy their rabid anti-Second Amendment base. Now, under the leadership of President Bill Clinton, and with the help of then Senator Joe Biden and Republicans, remember, they all tackled rising crime in the 1990s, did a good job of it. But now that the hard left is in charge, they're simply never going to crack down on crime.
I might add, the Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun, what type of weapon you could own. You couldn't buy a cannon. Those who say the blood of patriots, and all this stuff about how we're going to have to go against the government. Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you want to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit the type of weapon that can be owned and who can own it. The last time we had
accurate.
Well, I guess the overall is we didn't get anything. We gave a very big stage to Russia, and we got nothing. We gave up something that was unbelievably valuable. I stopped the pipeline, Nord Stream, and that pipeline was stopped, and it was given back, and nothing was gotten for it. And it was it was another day. And performance art, you'll take a look at how various people performed, namely the two people, and you have to form your own judgment. It's not for me to say, but I will say that
on that.
I think it was a good day for Russia. I don't see what we got out of it.
It was a good day for Russia. I don't see what we got out of it. Absolutely accurate. This man is a complete clown. Joe Biden, that is. Headed into the US-Russia summit, you would think, from a leverage perspective, from a tactical perspective, you wouldn't just unlock the Nord Stream pipeline for Russia to start making billions by exporting oil as you destroy your own domestic ability to do so. But of course, that's exactly what Joe Biden did. He let go of his leverage before even attending the meeting. The man walked in there from a position of weakness, and what did he get? Nothing. Russia and US agreed to send over ambassadors as they had been pulled out in the past. But in terms of the actual meat, in terms of the actual substance, outside of that symbolic gesture, Joe Biden accomplished absolutely nothing. The guy is no Sun Tzu, I'll tell you that much. In fact, he's pretty much the polar opposite. This is the dumbest thing I have ever seen in terms of foreign policy negotiating with world leaders who are a direct adversary. Joe Biden literally gave a list of 16 areas of critical infrastructure that should be, quote, off limits from cyber attacks.
Another area we spent a great deal of time on was cyber and cybersecurity. I talked about the proposition that certain critical infrastructure should be off limits to attack, period. By cyber or any other means. I gave them a list. If I'm not mistaken, if I don't have it in front of me, 16 specific entities. 16 defined as critical infrastructure under U.S. policy.
Is that not the dumbest thing you have ever heard in your entire life? That's like going into a mixed martial arts fight, having a really bad knee, and telling your opponent, hey, by the way, my left knee is about to collapse. Please, don't kick my left knee. It's off limits. You get in the octagon, and in the first round, your left knee has probably been kicked 35 times, and you can't even walk anymore. How absolutely incompetent can you get? No wonder world leaders are laughing at Joe Biden. The man's an absolute laughingstock in the Australian media. We even have these pictures surfacing from the G7 summit of what seemed to be Emmanuel Macron scolding Joe Biden, pointing in his face, acting like a tough guy. You think that would have happened if Donald Trump was president? I don't think so. Talk about the embarrassment. No wonder Joe's poll numbers are tanking with all the media coverage of the G7. The guy showed up with a one-on-one media, let the Russians strong-arm the US media, telling them to basically get out of the room. Of course they did, because Joe Biden probably wanted them to as well. They snapped a couple pictures of Joe Biden sitting down with Vladimir Putin, having cheat sheets, flashcards in his hand, because the guy can't even have a conversation without notes. And now we actually have a high-resolution close-up picture of his flashcards from the G7 in England, and just take a look at how hilarious this is. The President, DOJ talking points, Sunday, June 13th, 2021. Trump abused power, Trump DOJ out of control. Now we have to clean it up. I've made it clear. This DOJ will reflect my values and principles and priorities, not Donald Trump's. Talk about living in the guy's head. The guy has flashcards, notes, and the entire substance of what Joe Biden is supposed to read. As the current president of the United States is to focus on Orange Man Bad and the previous president. Talk about pressing matters. It's almost...
Questions, and as usual, folks, they gave me a list of the people I'm going to call on. So, Jonathan, Associated Press.
Like I told you,
we hold these true self-evident that all men and women, we haven't lived up to it completely, but we've always widened the arc of commitment. I caught part of President Putin's press conference.
Talk about
true self-evident.
Going into it.
We could work together with Russia, for example, in Libya. We should be opening up the passes to be able to go through and provide food assistance and vital assistance to a population that's in real trouble. I think I'm going to try very much hard to. It is. By the way, there's places where I shouldn't be starting off with negotiating in public here, but let me say it this way. Russia has engaged in activities which we believe are contrary to international norms, but they have also bitten off some real problems they're going to have trouble chewing on. And for example, the rebuilding of Syria, of Libya.
What?
You know, they're there.
Nah.
And as long as they're there without the ability to bring about some order in the region, and you can't do that very well without providing for the basic economic needs of people. So I'm hopeful that we can find an accommodation where we can save the lives of people for example, in Libya.
In a weekend interview, Vladimir Putin laughed at the suggestion that you had called him a killer. Is that still your belief, sir, that he is a killer? And I'll continue the trend if you don't mind of asking a second question. Do you believe if he does agree to cooperate, then what kind of a challenge do you find yourself in? How would you ever trust him? And if Ronald Reagan said trust but verify, what do you say to Vladimir Putin?
Answer the first question? I'm laughing too. They actually, well, look, I mean, he has made clear that, the answer is, I believe he has in the past essentially acknowledged that he was, there are certain things that he would do or did do. But look, when I was asked that question on air, I answered it honestly. But it's not much of a, I don't think it matters a whole lot in terms of this next meeting we're about to have.
All that together, I guess he's saying, yeah, he is a killer, but that doesn't matter now. It's more than awkward, isn't it? Biden's going to be representing the interests of the free world when he confronts the belligerent Russian president in their Geneva summit tomorrow. And it's hardly shaping up as Rocky Balboa versus Ivan Drago, is it? I said before the election that the Biden campaign had all the hallmarks of a weekend at Bernie's effort. Now he leads the free world. Biden has the opposite problem to Donald Trump. Trump refused to stay on script, was too blunt for many people, especially in diplomacy. Biden can only work by reading a script. Once he wanders off on his own, no one knows where he's going to end up. It's a worry for the US, for you and me, but not for Putin.